Hey guys, so it's day 199. So in the past 2 weeks or so, multiple friends have gotten me to get up on my soapbox about why I live the way that I live and what I think is one of the most prevalent problems in United States Christianity. So I'm going to get up on that soapbox, and I do so very tentatively because I'm not a perfect person. I struggle, I don't do things perfectly, and I don't want everyone to think they have to be exactly like me. However, I do think that American Christianity right now is stuck in a rut, and I think Christians have been stuck in ruts before. There were Christians in Nazi Germany while Hitler was doing terrible things to Jews that didn't speak up. There were Christians in the South when slaves were being treated completely inhumanely and were against abolishing slavery. They thought slavery was good. And so it's not that Christians haven't been wrong before, and I'm worried that we're there again. I read my Bible and I read Acts where people are selling their houses to be able to provide more for those who are in need. I read my Bible and I see people saying, well, let me go bury my father, and Jesus saying, let the dead bury their own. Where Jesus says you have to love me more than you love your family or your children. And of course, family is a blessing. Comfort can even be a blessing. But I don't see us following, take up your cross and follow me. I don't see much sacrifice in the world today when it comes to American Christians. People in other countries are going to their deaths because of what they believe, because they believe in Jesus, because they're a Christian. And yet, how long has it been since you've told anyone that you were a Christian, or witnessed anyone, or invited anyone to church? Has it been 6 months? A year? When you look at the number of hours that you're in church or that you're in Bible study, how much of your time are you taking in the good news as opposed to living it out in a way that other people can see? Francis Chan talks about if he tells his daughter to do something and she goes and gets a bunch of friends together and they go into their room and they write out what exactly he said and they memorize it and they figure out what it was in the original Greek, but then they don't do it. They aren't following the directions. They aren't following what their father told them to do. And that's what I sometimes think we're stuck in over here in modern America. Do we act that different outside of Sunday mornings? Do we volunteer outside of just our church youth group? Do we even volunteer in our church youth group? Do we invite non-Christians to our board game nights or parties or different things like that? And when we do interact with non-Christians, are we too scared to be different, to possibly be ridiculed? We're called to take up crosses, but I don't think the American dream, the American Christian lifestyle that many are living is much of a cross. I think we limit ourselves in what we think we can do. Oh, I'm just too busy right now. I can't do that. Which is fine to say in certain situations. But do we get outside of our comfort zone? The Bible says that to whom much has been given, much will be required. And we here in America have been given almost the most out of anyone else. And yet, are we doing much of anything with it? I've talked all this time about how much good you can do with your money, but is it making any difference to your spending patterns? Are you spending less on yourself now than you were when you started following this? Do we spend our entire lives avoiding big sins, raising up good kids, going to church on Sunday, and then dying? Do we ever trust God, do something extravagant, or do a series of small things for Him? Or do we sit in our homes where it's safe and warm, the homes that we paid $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 for and will be paying off for the next 10 years? I'm not saying it's wrong to own a home. I have no idea where I'm going to go once I get to that stage. But at the same time, if we're spending all of our productive years paying off the home that we live in, how much of a positive influence are we making on the world? Could it be that we're missing something? When human trafficking is bigger than it's ever been, when there's more slaves in the world than there's ever been, when we have systems that we know can pull people out of poverty, and yet we aren't helping. We're called to be in the world, but not of it. But if we keep to ourselves and our Netflix screens And if we close the garage door as soon as we get into it and have no interaction with the world outside of our small groups and church friends, are we even being in the world? And I'm not saying this to condemn any specific person. I'm not saying this to condemn any specific practice, but I'm saying this so that God might have an opportunity to convict your heart, because I think a lot of us work so hard at not working hard for the kingdom, work so hard at making this life as comfortable for ourselves as we can, even though we're aliens, even though we're sojourners in this world. Those are just my thoughts. I don't have this all wrapped up. I don't have all of these thoughts put together beautifully. I'm working on a book. We'll see when that happens. But I don't want us to waste it. I don't want us to waste what we have. I don't want us to be Christians by name only, but by word and deed and action. And sometimes I'm just worried that we're not. Just a thought-provoking week, I guess. Anyway, after such a somber message, here's something to hopefully brighten your spirits.
Once I was 7 years old, my mama told me, go make yourself some friends or you'll be lonely. Once I was 7 years old.